Wow, wow, wow. Hello, everybody. It's me, Mital. Wow, what a crazy half an hour that was. I do apologise for the technical difficulties on our Facebook page. I really do apologise about that. I did everything I can to get live again, okay? So I just want to welcome you guys. Welcome to Learn Science with myself, Mital, and today we'll be learning all about cells. Okay, so we're going to be switching to biology today. And yeah, I'm a big chemistry geek and all of that, but I'm a qualified teacher and I love teaching general science to all of our wonderful Sparkies. Okay, so our Sparkies are the ones that actually come to our Spark Academy centres in Leicester, and also join in on our Spark Academy online UK tuition as well. So yeah, what are we going to learn today then? What are we going to learn? We're going to learn all about eukaryotic cells. We're going to learn prokaryotic cells. And we're going to sort of talk about why it's really important to learn about cells, especially in today's world, okay? But before that, I want to know if you guys are here, okay? So I'd love for you guys to write in the comments, say hey, and tell us where you're from. I'd love to know. So hi Lucy, how are you? I hope you're well. What have you guys been up to this week? And what I'd like to also know is where you're from. I'd also love to know what has been the best thing, okay, that you've done since I've last seen you. So that was from last Wednesday. What was one of the best things that you guys have been up to, or the best experiences you've had? Hey Nia, how are you? I hope you're well. And thank you for hanging around, guys. I really appreciate the fact that you hung around. Hello, Lucy. So Lucy's from, hey, it's Tom from Derbyshire. Lovely to have you here, Tom. Hello, Rihanna. How are you? You okay? Good to have you. Rihanna is actually one of our pupils as well. I'm used to seeing Rihanna at the centre. Lovely. So Nia's from Leicestershire. Lovely to meet you, Nia. I hope I'm saying it right. Hello, Claire. Okay, thank you so much for hanging around, guys. Okay. Let us know what you've been up to as well. It'd be lovely to know what you guys have been up to in the past week, and if you've done anything that's been interesting. Okay, so that'd be really cool. Oh, I can see over here I've got Eva from Leicester. Lovely to have you here, Eva. So you've been gardening and watching caterpillars. That's interesting. That's really cool. I'm a little bit scared of creepy crawlies, but I always admire people who are able to handle them. Thank you, Rena. I am very well. Honestly, the first half an hour gave me a little fright, but we're all good. We're all good to go. So let's actually start our lesson today, and let's talk about, what we're basically going to learn. Today, you guys are going to be able to label and know what different parts of the cell does. Okay, so that's what we're going to be doing. So labeling and knowing what different parts of the cell does. And then we're going to describe how plant cells differ from animal cells. Okay. The third thing that we're going to learn today is explain the term prokaryotic and eukaryotic cells, and basically know the differences between the two, okay? So before we move on, I always like to tell you why it's important to learn what we're doing, okay? Because I think it's really important to understand, hey, why am I learning this? What's the point, okay? And the whole point about learning about cells is to understand basically how organisms, including humans, okay, how we basically function. And then we can understand how we can protect cells to prevent infection, observe cells to diagnose disease, treat cells to heal illness, and stop harming cells through our choices and actions. These are really fundamental, and actually, with everything that's going on in the world today, I think it's super, super important that we understand how these cells work, okay? What are their functions? How are their structures adapted to their functions? And then we know that obviously with everything going on with COVID, etc., scientists are trying to find vaccines and trying to prevent this infection from going further. So it's fundamental that we know about cells and how they work, so that if anything like this pops up again in the future, we're well equipped, okay, and we're ready. So let's talk about eukaryotic cells. Okay, and like I said in the post earlier, I'd love for you guys to have a pad of paper, and let's write some notes down, because there's some key words over here, and I'm going to be doing a little quiz with you guys to see how much you remember. Okay, so we've got eukaryotic cells. Eukaryotic cells, they contain membrane-bound organelles, such as the nucleus and other types of membrane-bound organelles. And we're going to find out more about that shortly. Okay, so this is really important. Eukaryotic cells contain a membrane-bound nucleus and other membrane-bound organelles. And actually, we've got two different types of eukaryotic cells that you lot need to know about. You lot need to know about animal cells and plant cells. So plant cells and animal cells, they are eukaryotic cells, and they contain some membrane-bound organelles, okay? So what is a cell? Let's just think about that. Last week we looked at atoms, and we said that they're absolutely tiny, they're the building blocks, they make up absolutely everything. And we said that lots of atoms joined together, they make up elements, okay? And then elements joined up together different elements can make up compounds, etc. This week we're learning about biological building blocks, okay? So these cells contain lots of different atoms, okay? But the cells, we like to think of them, imagine it being a human being, yeah? A human being, we know we're made up of organs. A cell which is tiny makes us up, okay? And they contain lots of little organs. So those little organs, we actually call them organelles, and we're going to learn about what each one of these organelles do, what they look like, okay? So the main thing to know at the moment is that plant cells and animal cells contain membrane-bound organelles. Moving on then, just knowing what a prokaryotic cell is. A prokaryotic cell, they don't basically contain membrane-bound organelles, okay? So they don't contain organelles that have membranes in them, and you're going to find out what that means shortly, okay? So their nucleus doesn't have a membrane, okay? And an example of a prokaryotic cell is a bacteria cell, okay? So eukaryotic are animal and plant cells. Prokaryotic don't have membrane-bound organelles, and an example of which is a bacteria cell. And today we're going to learn a lot more about these animal and plant cells and bacteria cells as well. So let's look at the structure of a eukaryotic cell, okay? Now we sort of talked about before that we've got our animals and we've got our plant cells over here. And actually we have, within the animal and plant cells, we have these organelles. Now the first organelle that I want us to talk about is the cell membrane, okay? So when I draw an animal cell, I might just draw it like this, okay, so it's easy for me to remember, okay? And this outer layer over here is the cell membrane. And then if you zoom into that cell membrane even more, it will look something like this. Now, if you're looking to study A-level biology, yeah, you'll have to learn a lot about this, about the membrane, okay? But for secondary school and for Key Stage 3 and GCSE, hey, you just need to know that that outer layer there on an animal cell is the cell membrane. Now in a plant cell, if I draw it like this, okay, over here in a plant cell, this second layer over here is your cell membrane. Okay, so in an animal cell, which looks like that, okay, typical animal cell, the outer layer is the cell membrane. And then you've got the second layer over there in the plant cell, that is your cell membrane there. So let's figure out, what does it do? What does a cell membrane do? Well, you've got to imagine a cell membrane like a bodyguard, okay? It actually controls, okay, or a bouncer, okay, controls what goes in and out of the cell. So let's write that down. Cell membrane controls what goes in and out of the cell. It's super important, okay? So it controls things like salts, okay, like sodium, the amount of water that goes in and out. It controls a lot of things, and it's incredibly important. Now, the second layer of an animal of an animal cell, for example, we've got this clear section over here. That is known as the cytoplasm, okay? And so this is what this section over here is, the cytoplasm. The cytoplasm is this clear sort of jelly-like substance inside the cell. And really the cytoplasm is super important because that tells you, okay, that is actually the site at which chemical reactions take place. Okay, so that's a really important point for you to know. So site at which chemical reactions take place. Okay, and the interesting part of a cytoplasm is that it contains enzymes. Okay, and these are really cool. Enzymes are so cool because they're like biological catalysts. They speed up reactions, okay? Speed up reactions, they make things, they break things up, okay? So these are really important when we look at chemical reactions. And so the cytoplasm in an animal cell is here, okay? And in the plant cell, the cytoplasm is a clear bit over there. Lovely, okay? So those are the two main bits that are in common with both animal and plant cells. They both have cell membranes, they both have a cytoplasm. Now, let's look at, you know, what happens, eukaryotic cells and basically organelles that are found in plant cells only, okay? I think I am missing a slide here somewhere. Let me just find where my slides are. Okay, otherwise I will include another slide over there. No worries, I think I am missing a slide. Right, so before I move on to that, okay, I want to actually go through other types of structures with you. So we said that we've got our animal cell, which looks like this. Okay, and it's worth you getting used to drawing these cells out. Okay, and a plant cell, which looks like this. Notice the difference in the structure, okay? And we have this structure here, and we've got that, and we've got a few of these structures over here. So it'd be worth you drawing something similar like this out, so it will help you further. So we've just said that this outer layer in the animal cell, so I'm just going to label that animal, that as plant, okay, this is the cell membrane. And the second layer for the plant cell, that's the cell membrane for the plant cell. Okay? Now, the other thing that they have in common is this, okay? They've got a nucleus, okay? They've got a nucleus, and the nucleus is super, super important because what the nucleus does is contains genetic information. That's super important, guys. Okay, so it contains genetic information and in the form of DNA, and that is super important there. Okay, we said that this clear bit over here, okay, is known as the cytoplasm. Okay, and we said that the cytoplasm is basically where the chemical reactions take place. There, okay? Now, the nucleus, we can go into a little bit more detail about that, okay? The nucleus actually not only just stores the genetic information, okay, but it's also made up of a nuclear envelope, okay? So the nucleus has a nuclear envelope, okay, or it's membrane bound. So that's why this is a eukaryotic cell, okay. Another really interesting thing that the both cells have are these structures over here, and I'm going to draw them in. They look like little sausages, okay, and these are known as mitochondria, okay. So I'll do that there. These are known as mitochondria, and that's basically the plural, okay. So mitochondrion is the singular, so we say that is a mitochondrion, and the rest of them all together collectively are mitochondria, okay. And the mitochondria is really, really important because it contains this double membrane, okay, and I can draw it like this if you want. So it contains like a double membrane, and again, anything with a membrane bound organelle would be eukaryotic cells, okay. And the great thing is it's where aerobic cellular respiration takes place, okay. So that is where aerobic respiration takes place in the cell. So these are some of the features that are in common, okay. And another one more feature that is actually in common are these little round dots that are going to be dotted around, and they're super tiny, guys, okay, these round dots over here. Now, these round dots are known as ribosomes, okay. Now, what are these ribosomes? What are they useful for? Well, ribosomes are really, really important, okay, because they are the little sites of protein synthesis. What I mean by protein synthesis, and don't get scared about these big words, okay, protein synthesis basically means places that make proteins, okay, so that's what these ribosomes do. They make these proteins. So this is just general bits of information there, but what do we notice? We notice that a few things are different. Look, we've got this big blob thing in a plant cell, which is not actually in an animal cell. We're going to find out what that is, okay? We've got these bigger blobs over here, which are not present okay, in an animal cell. And then we've got this outer layer that is not present, okay, in an animal cell. So we've got three things that are not present in animal cells, but are present in plant cells. So let's talk about that then. The three things then that are present, you've got a cell wall, chloroplast, and the vacuole. So the cell wall is this outermost thick layer, okay? And that cell wall is actually made of something known as cellulose, okay? So I'm going to go back to our diagram really quickly. This section over here, this outer bit, is known as the cell wall. And sometimes I see a lot of kids making mistakes and, you know, calling an animal cell, calling this bit of the animal cell here a cell wall. It is not a cell wall. You should never write that down for an animal cell. It's always the cell membrane. But going back to a plant cell, the outer layer is the cell wall, okay? And then the inner layer is the cell membrane. So let's write a little bit about what it does, okay? We say that a cell wall is made of cellulose, call it a cellulose cell wall, and it provides structure and support. So that's super important there. It provides structure and support to the plant. Now, the next thing that we talked about were these little blobs over here, okay? And these blobs that I've drawn so wonderfully in my diagram here, okay, they represent chloroplasts. They're tiny, super tiny guys, okay? So these things, these things over here are your chloroplasts. And chloroplasts are really, really cool guys, okay? You can only find them in plants. They are super important because their role is to conduct photosynthesis, okay? So it conducts photosynthesis. And in the next few weeks, we will go through photosynthesis in more detail. But essentially, it's where the plant makes its own food, okay, makes its own glucose, and it uses sunlight to be able to do that. So really what the chloroplasts do is they absorb sunlight, okay, and they allow the plant to make its own food. So I'm just going to write that down. Absorbs sunlight and allows plant to make its own food. Okay, so that's a really important point to put down there. Finally then, in terms of the plant cell, we also have vacuole. We have a vacuole, okay, so that's that big blobby bit over here. If I go back to our plant diagram, my beautiful diagram here, this big blob in the middle, okay, that is your vacuole, okay. Now, what is the purpose of the vacuole? Well, the vacuole stores water and minerals. So that's the function, okay, of the vacuole. It stores water and minerals, and it contributes to supporting the cell, okay? So plus helps to support the cell structurally. Okay, so that's basically what the vacuole will do. So far, what we've just done is we've looked at eukaryotic cells, and we've said that eukaryotic cells have got organelles. Organelles are like little organs of the cells that have membranes, double membranes. So an example is the nucleus. Okay, the nucleus has an outer membrane. So does the mitochondria, for example. That's why they're eukaryotic. Okay. So let's see how much we've learned. Okay, let's see how much we've learned. learnt here. Hi Rian, I've just seen you over here. Hi Esther, nice to see you. We've got now a little quiz, okay? I want you to type in the answer to the question. Okay, so just type in A, B or C in the comment section below. Which organelle contains the genetic information in eukaryotic cells? Let's see your comments, guys. Let's go for it. In eukaryotic cells, what contains the genetic information? Pop your comments down in the chat, guys. Hi guys, can you hear me? Can you, is this going on? As in, it says, sorry, we're having trouble carrying out this video. I'm not sure. Okay, it's just saying, I'm just going to check. Hi guys, can you just let me know if you can actually see what I'm presenting, if that's okay, because on my end it's showing that there's a few troubles, few problems viewing this video. So could you just kindly let me know in the chat box if you're still with me and you can still see what I'm doing on screen and still hear me. Okay, lovely. Okay, that's great, Lucy. I'm sorry, but I don't know why we're having we're having some technical issues with our Facebook Live today, which is really strange. But I'm just going to carry on because I'm a little bit worried, and that's why I called my colleague Gemma just now as well, just to find out if you guys are still with me and if you can hear me. So, okay, so contains the genetic information then of eukaryotic cells. And let's see what everybody has written. So I have got B, Rihanna is saying B, nucleus. Excellent, brilliant. It is the nucleus. Okay, now let's move on to the next bit. The part of the cell that controls what goes in and out is what, guys? Okay, can you pop the letter into the chat box? Lovely, I'm glad that you guys can see me. Right. So Kayan, nice to see you. Hope you're okay. So Kayan's saying B, Lucy's saying B. Well done, excellent. Okay, so the part of the cell that controls what goes in and out is B, the cell membrane. Excellent. Let's move on to the next one. These organelles are found in plant cells only. Okay. So, is it A, nucleoid, okay, plasmid, capsule? Is it B, cell membrane, nucleus, cytoplasm? Is it C, chloroplast, cell wall, vacuole? So cell, what do you think that could be? So these organelles are found in plant cells only. So Lucy, you're saying B. Okay. Right, if they're in plant cells only then, remember, we've not heard about these nucleoids, plasmids and capsules yet, have we? Okay, so let's just discount that for a second. We know that cell membranes are present in plant cells and animal cells, nucleus exactly the same, and also a cytoplasm. So guys, you were right, it's C, chloroplast, cell wall and vacuole. Moving on to the next one. This part of the cell contains digestive enzymes necessary for reactions to occur. Is it A, the cytoplasm, B, mitochondria, C, the plasmid? Yeah, thank you, Sonal. I thought that the page was freezing as well, so that's why I thought, let me find out if it's working now. Great. Okay, so Lou's saying A, Claire A, okay. Excellent. It's the cytoplasm. Okay, so the cytoplasm contains the digestive enzymes. They're the things that make things or break things up. Okay, and we need them. The biological catalysts. See, I had to get my chemistry in there, didn't I? Next, it's the site where proteins are made. Protein synthesis. Is it A, the nucleoid, B, ribosomes, C, mitochondria? Hey Matty, I hope you're well. So proteins are made in B, ribosomes. Okay, so remember they're the little points of which, you know, the little small round dots, tiny dots that are useful for making proteins. Okay, next one. The site where aerobic cellular respiration takes place. Okay, is it A, ribosomes, B, cytoplasm, C, mitochondria? Hey, I noticed that little typo there. Naughty, naughty. Mitochondria. There you go. So Matty's saying C, Claire is saying C, Rian's saying B. Okay, it's actually, guys, the aerobic, I mean, we definitely know it's not ribosomes. Okay, definitely know that. So it's out of the cytoplasm or the mitochondria. So what are we getting? C. Well done. Excellent, guys. It is C, the mitochondria, again, which contains a double membrane. Okay, and they look like this, don't they? That's what they look like, little structures like that. Lovely. Okay, and last question. It's made of cellulose and provides structure and support to the cell. What is it? Is it A, the cell wall, B, the cell membrane, or C, the vacuole? Okay, so Matty's come out with A, Rian with A, Nia with A. Okay, excellent. Well done. It is A. Wonderful. Brilliant stuff, okay? So you guys seem to know your cells and your organelles, okay? And remember, you've got eukaryotic cells, which have membrane-bound organelles. Examples of eukaryotic cells are the animal and the plant cells. And you guys need to know the difference between the animal and the plant cells and know that there are different organelles. Plant cells have, and let's just recap, plant cells over here, okay, look different, don't they? They're sort of more rectangular shaped. They have a cell wall, an animal cell doesn't. Plant cells have a vacuole, whereas an animal cell doesn't. And a plant cell also has chloroplasts, okay, which are really important for photosynthesis. We don't need to photosynthesize. We don't need to make our own food. We eat our own food, okay? So that's why we don't undergo photosynthesis. Now, the next thing we need to learn about is prokaryotic cells, okay? Now, a prokaryotic cell, okay, obviously we've just talked about, they don't have their membrane-bound organelles, okay? And there's a few structures that we're going to be looking at today. And a typical prokaryotic cell is that of a bacteria cell, okay? So the things that we're going to be looking at is the capsule. We're going to be looking at something known as the flagellum. And we're also going to be looking at the nucleoid, okay, so, and a plasmid. So these are the things that we're really going to be looking into. And notice how it looks. It looks very different to your animal and your plant cell, doesn't it? Okay. And again, like I said, we're just going to be focusing on a bacterium cell. They're very, very small. Okay, so bacterial cells, obviously, they're not visible, we can't see them, super, super small. But let's talk about, firstly, about a capsule. Okay, so I would write this down. The capsule in itself, guys, contains basically a layer of slime. Okay, so this capsule over here, all right, it contains a layer of slime, which is basically a protein. Okay, and it lubricates the cell. It stops it from drying out and sticking together. All right, and the great thing about this slime layer over here is that it protects the actual bacterium cell from being attacked by the host cell. So when I'm talking about a host cell, if a human being has bacterial cells on them, and by the way, we have loads of bacteria on us, okay, it stops any types of digestive enzymes that are on our skin, in our skin cells, etc. The slime layer stops the bacterium from being deteriorated by those digestive enzymes. So that's really important for you to remember, that it's a protein and it stops the cell drying out and it protects the cell against the action of host's digestive enzymes. Okay. Right. Now moving on to the next one. We've got the nucleoid. Okay. Now the bacterial cells, if we look over here, we've got the nucleoid there. Okay. So the nucleoid is basically the bacterial cell's version of a nucleus, but it's not a nucleus, okay? Basically, the nucleoid's DNA is packed in an area of the cytoplasm, okay? So you can see over here this sort of squiggly red lines there, okay? That's inside the nucleus. Remember, with an animal cell or with a plant cell, when we look back, our nucleus, the DNA, is inside that nucleus over there, okay? So the nucleus had a membrane, okay? Or we call it a nuclear envelope, okay? So that's what that has there. Whereas look at this, the DNA over here is free to roam around inside the cell, okay? So what we say is we call this a nucleoid, which means it's nucleus-like, but that's where the DNA is stored, okay? So that is normally for an animal cell. This is for a prokaryote, such as a bacterial cell. So again, this is just re-emphasizing, okay, the fact that the bacterial cells, they don't contain the nucleus and their DNA is basically packed in the area of the cytoplasm, like I mentioned before. Now, the next thing that we're going to be looking at is the plasmid, okay? So the plasmid looks like, so the plasmid's here, okay, and it's this round little section over there, okay? And what plasmids do, so they're different from the nucleoid, okay? So plasmids are separate circles of genetic material and they contain genes, okay? What these do, they actually contain antibiotic resistance genes. That's what they contain. So the nucleoid over here contains most of the DNA, okay, and the normal DNA for the cell. But these plasmids, these are the ones, that contain antibiotic resistance genes. And remember, we use antibiotics to try and kill bacteria. And the problem that's occurring now is that these bacteria are developing resistance to these antibiotics because we're overusing them. And so then we have to keep coming up with more antibiotics to try and kill the new strains of bacteria. So again, it's just showing the differences, the bacterial DNA, okay, and you've got your round plasmids. They're the ones that conduct, that have the antibiotic resistance genes there. Now the last bit, this is one of my favourite words actually. We've got a flagellum, okay? This bit here is known as a flagellum. So that the plural is flagella, okay? And basically it comes out from the cell body, and the role of this, it sort of wiggles, okay? The role of this is movement. I love that word though, flagellum, flagella, okay? So it's a really easy one to remember. It's like a little tail that helps it to move. So that is the role of the flagella. Okay, now what we're going to do is we're going to do some more tests, okay? So let's see how you guys got on. So let's do this multiple choice quiz and let's pop some comments into the chat box. So these organelles are found in plant cells only. Is it nucleoid, plasmid, capsule, B, cell membrane, nucleus, cytoplasm, C, chloroplast, cell wall, vacuole? Write your comments in the chat box. So what is this then, guys? So I'm getting Rihanna saying C. Lovely. Okay, excellent. So again, brilliant. You guys remembered that from before. Okay, I have asked you this question before as well. Next one. Bacterial cells contain a nucleus. Is that true or false? What could that be? Bacterial cells contain a nucleus. True or false? So Rihanna's saying false. Let's get a few more comments down. This one's a tough one, isn't it? Okay, excellent. So we've got false here. Yep, that's right. Now what I want you to do in the chat box is I want you to write, tell me why. What does it contain instead? So what does it contain instead? So keep it coming in the chat box, guys. Good, Rihanna. Nucleoid. What else can it contain? Keep it going, guys. You're doing really, really well. Yeah. Excellent. So the DNA is packed into the cytoplasm. Okay, so it's like a nucleoid. Yeah. What else? What else did it contain, guys? The things that have the antibiotic resistance. So it has a nucleoid. Yep. Okay. So it basically over here it contains obviously your plasmids, okay, and it contains your nucleoid. Well done. Okay, let's move on to the next one. Bacterial DNA is in this area of its cytoplasm, okay? So is it A, the nucleoid, B, the capsule, C, the flagellum? So bacterial DNA is in this area of its cytoplasm. Is it A, the nucleoid, B, the capsule, C, the flagellum? Great work, Rihanna, from before. Plasmid, yeah. So let's get this one. Is it A, B, or C? We're getting some answers in. So I'm seeing some of your comments a little later. Brilliant. Okay, excellent. It's A. Oops. It's A. It's the nucleoid. Well done. Okay. The next bit. Contains antibiotic resistant genes. Is it A, nucleoid? Is it B, plasmid? C, flagellum? So contains antibiotic resistant genes. Okay, so we're getting excellent. B. Well done. Okay, so we've got the plasmids. Okay, brilliant. Now, I think you guys have done a fab job, because this kind of lesson, okay, it's all about learning your keywords and knowing what things do. So sometimes it's about memorizing lists, but the best way of you to be able to do that is continually test yourself. So the best way to revise things like this, especially in an exam, would be to just develop some, cue cards, okay? On one side of the cue card, you could have the word, okay? So you can have plasmid, okay? And then on the other side of the cue card, what you could do is you could draw a picture of it, okay? Like so. You could say it's only in prokaryotic, cells, and you could just put another thing to say, it's where you've got antibiotic resistant genes, for example. Okay, so you could develop cue cards for each of these sections. So on one side, side one, you've got that, side two, you've got that. And hey, you know what? There's no reason why you can't test yourself or get your siblings to test you, or you could have your friends, you could get together with your friends and do a quiz. Okay, so there's loads of things, loads of ways to make it exciting, yeah? And yeah, you can make your own quizzes as well on Kahoot, and you could try and see whether or not, you can do things like that with your friends as well. So that'd be a lot of fun. So memorizing words and then knowing knowing the structure and then knowing the function is really, really important. Okay, and actually, when you do A-level biology as well, you know, they'll always ask you, what's the structure of this? What's the function of that? Yeah, they'll always do that. So it's better to get into the habit now. So let's now review our learning then, okay? So what we were doing today is that I wanted you to label and know what the different parts of the cell do, okay? So remember, in both animal and plant cells, we have a cell membrane, we've got the nucleus, we've got cytoplasm, the mitochondria, and we've got ribosomes. Okay, so that's in common with both animal and plant cells. And remember, animal and plant cells, they are eukaryotic cells. Okay, and eukaryotic cells have membrane-bound organelles. All right, and remember, in plant cells, we have a cell wall, we have chloroplasts and vacuoles, okay? That is not present in an animal cell. So these are very unique to plant cells. The next thing is that describe how plant cells differ from animal cells. Again, you know, that's the same as what we looked at before. As long as you know the structure, yeah, so these are the structures, you then need to be able to state what the function of each of these things are, okay? Lastly, you needed to be able to explain the term eukaryotic and prokaryotic, okay, and know the differences. And like I mentioned before, eukaryotic cells, they're your animal and plant cells, okay? They're your eukaryotic ones because they have membrane-bound organelles. The examples are the mitochondria, which has got a double membrane, okay? And then you've got your nucleus as well, which actually has like your pores, and it's got, yeah, a little bit of a membrane there as well. That's what a nucleus would look like, okay? Prokaryotic, no membrane-bound organelles. Instead, their DNA isn't contained like ours. Ours is contained into a nice nucleus. Theirs is just a nucleoid, so they've got these squiggly lines that are just hanging around within the bacterial cell. Then you've got these plasmids, which contain antibiotic resistant genes, and then you've got your flagella, which is your nice little tail. So if I just draw a tail over there, that's your nice little flagella. And then it also has this capsule outside, and remember, the capsule contains slime, okay, which stops, it's a protein, and it stops the actual bacteria from being digested, okay? So this is basically what our lesson has been about today, and I hope that you've got a lot out of it. I mean, every week at the end of every lesson, I like to end with a little bit of spark wisdom. And remember, all the power is within you. You can do anything and everything. And it's from a chap called Swami Vivekananda. Okay, he's a philosopher, and he believed that all the power is always within us. We've just got to channel it in the right way. So I want to say basically a huge well done, you know, for your efforts today. And I love the way that you guys interact on these sessions. You know, that makes things so much more better, okay? You've done some serious learning. There's a lot here, yeah? Especially if you're in year 7 and 8. Some of the stuff was a little bit more advanced, okay? The more GCSE level. But I tried to sort of pitch it so that hopefully that should challenge you and extend you further, okay? I have designed some worksheets, and last week we had, we've been working on our website so that we can have the videos on there, and also the worksheets. I believe that should be going live today. They were working really hard on it over the past week and a bit. Now, I have designed worksheets for atoms. We've got worksheets for the worksheets for cells. Soon as it's live, I'll post it on this chat, on the live video chat, and direct you to the website over there. As a gesture of goodwill, and I know that it's because of the times that we're facing right now, I've also asked our web people to put some maths videos up for you. So you've got some primary school maths videos that are free to use up there. And the primary school ones are made by our primary expert, Celia. So yeah, feel free to watch them. Or if you've got children in secondary school studying maths, we've got some maths videos as well for you there. So it's just to give back a little bit more. So I will definitely post the link up later on today. Hopefully it will go live. Again, massive thank you to all of you guys. And you know, I look forward to seeing you next week, and hopefully we won't have any streaming issues. Thank you. Take care and stay super sparkly.